My name is Tammy Zamoyski. I lived in Montrose for just over 7 years before moving out to New Hampshire this summer. I really love mountain biking, road biking, snowboarding, backpacking with my dogs, pretty much anything outside. I'm an urban planner who specializes in active transportation planning. I'm really passionate about designing communities and places to encourage an active and healthy lifestyle. I think it's so powerful that through good design, we can encourage people to take the stairs instead of the elevator, or influence people to walk to the coffee shop rather than hopping in their SUV and driving over there.
Hello, my name is Rod Warren. I am a physical education teacher at an elementary school here in Montrose County School District. I graduated from the University of Northern Colorado. I was able to luckily get a job here in Montrose County just a few months after graduating. I've been a teacher at Northside for 6 years. This is my 6th year teaching.
Hi, my name is Danielle Musser, and I'm the Adapted Physical Education Specialist for the Montrose County School District. I graduated from Berea College and then went on to get my master's from Texas Women's University with a master's degree in kinesiology with an emphasis in adapted physical education. And then I started with Montrose County School District after graduation, and I've been here ever since.
As the executive director of the Montrose Area Bicycle Alliance, I spearheaded the efforts to transform Montrose into a bicycle-friendly community. In the spring of 2020, we earned a bronze bicycle-friendly community designation, and part of that was because of our Safe Routes to School program. Safe Routes to School is a federal program that began in the 90s when we realized that most kids don't walk or bike to school anymore. It might not sound that important, but this shift to car culture is actually a really big deal. Scenes like this have obvious negative effects on the environment, traffic, and air quality around the school, but we also need to think of the impact that it's having on our mental and physical health. Biking and walking are good for our heart and lungs, but also for our brains. Exercise has been proven to reduce stress and increase confidence and focus. In a time when kids are fatter and more stressed out than ever before, this program is even more relevant now than ever. Safe Routes to School focuses on using education and encouragement to increase the number of kids walking and biking to school. By discussing the benefits of active transportation with students and their families, we're encouraging lifelong healthy habits. Right now, the pandemic is forcing the world to reconsider our transportation options, and it's more important now than ever to teach these safe cycling habits. Safe Routes to School is typically broken up into 2 different parts. The first day is classroom style, which can be done just as easily virtually as in person. This is where we focus on things like bike safety, helmet fitting, rules of the road, etc. We can adapt the level of detail for each grade. Kindergartners, for example, spend a lot of time playing pedal tag and Simon Says, where in 4th grade we focus more on things like which side of the street you're supposed to bike on and how to use hand signals. The second day is an outdoor skills course and has been often referred to as the best day ever. This is a lot of fun in person, but also could be done virtually. So for ours, we set up a bike rodeo with a variety of obstacles. We have things like a rock dodge, a snail race, a figure 8, and we also set up start and stop boxes and fake driveway crossings. Virtually, I think you can do this by asking kids to find objects in their driveway to practice dodging, or to ride their bike as slow as possible without putting their foot down to practice their balance. Bicycle Colorado has also offered Learn to Ride webinars in the past that I think could also be a useful resource for parents. And when you're doing the skills course, you'll quickly discover that skill levels are going to vary greatly, even just within one class. So to accommodate everybody's needs, we set up a Learn to Ride zone for the kids who didn't feel comfortable riding without training wheels. And you can see a picture of that in the upper right-hand corner. Below that, you'll see that we also set up a mountain bike course for the kids who, frankly, are probably better at riding a bike than I am. It was really inspiring to see how many kids were crushing that teeter-totter. Safe Routes to School is such a fun and important program, so we want to share with you the first steps to getting a program started at your own school. The first thing you want to do is form a Safe Routes to School committee. and you'll include your school district staff, typically your PE teachers, principal, and maybe some admin staff. You'll also want to invite a representative from your parent advisory committee. They'll be a really great resource for getting parents involved during the program. And don't forget to reach out to your local bike advocacy group. In our case in Montrose, they were the ones that did all of the heavy lifting and made this program really happen. Next, you'll want to hire a Safe Routes to School coordinator and instructor. And if you're lucky enough to have a local league certified instructor in your community, I would definitely recommend reaching out to them first. And if you're not sure if there's one nearby, you can look that up on the League of American Bicyclists website. I know the budgets are always tight, so you'll probably want to raise money to hire somebody. This can be done through grants or fundraising. In Montrose, most of our funding came from our local community foundation, the Colorado Health Foundation, and a grant from 3M. You can also use fundraising as a tool. We requested and received donations from a whole mess of local businesses, from pediatric doctors and dentists to manufacturers and bike shops. In the resource folder that we shared with you all, we put together a letter template that you can use to ask for donations. And then once you have your coordinator, they're going to work with your Safe Routes to School committee and create a schedule and develop your curriculum. So that's about it. You'll be rolling in no time.
When I was first approached about Safe Routes to School, I was super excited. I've always enjoyed riding bicycles and being active. At the time, I was living in town and was able to ride my bike to school almost every day, so I was really pumped to be able to share that experience with some of my kids and to hopefully share the love of bicycles with my students.
So I knew Tammy prior to doing the Safe Routes to School. We were actually friends. I was in her wedding. And I am super passionate about my students learning how to ride a bike and get out in the community and have that same access as everyone else. So when Tammy said that she was starting the Safe Routes to School program back in the Montrose County School District, I absolutely said, yes, how can I help? Safe Routes to School is really important, specifically for my kids, because it really helps the community and school understand some of the challenges that the students may face on their route to school every day. So whether that be a missing pedestrian walk sign or maybe a crossing guard that's really needed near the school. And for my students, this might be their main mode of transportation one day. How they get to their jobs, how they get to their to see their loved ones, is riding some kind of adaptive bicycle through our community. We are rural, and so that's hard for our students to get around. We do have a small bus system, but not all of our students can make the phone call and have the verbal communication skills to schedule the pickups and drop-offs. So having Safe Routes to School help teach my students how to ride a bike and how to safely get around in the community is vital.
There are a lot of moving parts to this program, so communication and detailed record keeping are absolutely essential to a successful program. When we decided to start our program in 2019, we started with absolutely nothing. We vaguely knew that some attempt at Safe Routes to School was made in our district in the past, but we learned that it was just an after-school program that never really took off. So our goal was to create a sustainable program, one that could be carried on through the years even with staff turnover. We created a shared Google Drive folder, which included a final summary report for each school, all of the data that we collected from our parents and students through the surveys, an inventory of all of our supplies, like the bike fleet, cones, helmets, everything for the bike rodeo. And we also included our budget spreadsheets and funding sources, and we've shared a lot of these resources with you in your folder. Developing these resources and making them accessible ensures that the program can continue with a high level of efficiency. So when I left my position in July, all of this information was left with our new Safe Routes to School coordinator. It wasn't just stored on my personal computer and taken with me. So now they know exactly what we accomplished and what resources are available to them. There's no reinventing the wheel or wasting time putting together a new bike rodeo kit because they had no idea that we purchased 50 cones last year. These documents will also be really helpful for you when it comes time to apply for more grant funding.
At Northside, we are predominantly Hispanic. We also have a really high percentage of low-income, free and reduced lunch students. We have quite a few students that live close, but we are also still part of this rural community, so a fair amount of our students live a little ways away where they'll have to cross large roads and things like that. Some of the challenges we faced while doing Safe Routes to School, one of them was that, again, because of our low income demographic, we have a lot of families that are a one-parent household, which means a lot of times those parents are working all day by themselves, so they're not able to take off during the middle of the day to come help out with the program. Another challenge would be, like I said earlier, the distance some of the students live from school. They will have to face some large intersections and busy streets in order to make it to school. As far as the space at school, I was able to use the gym, which is also our cafeteria, so it was a little tricky to just kind of make sure bicycles and things were all scooched off to the side, just so that the cafeteria had enough room.
Challenges that we faced with the Safe Routes to School program was logistics. Since it was my bike fleet that was being borrowed, I did have a limited stash of what was available. We also had to coordinate pickup and drop off delivery at the schools. So that was a huge planning component with my schedule, Tammy's schedule, the school's schedule. It did make things quite challenging to be able to share those bikes, but it was totally worth it.
Some of the things to get the parents and the kids ready for Safe Routes to School that I did was we put in a little note into our school website, just so that parents, and our school newsletters, so that parents were aware of what was going on. I see the students once every 3 days, so I was able to speak to them in class just to kind of get them excited and get them prepared to enjoy this awesome program. Some things I think we could improve on, specifically at my school, I think it would have been better to be a little more aggressive on sending home information to the families, just to really try and get as many as we could to come help. Again, since they're busy, it could have also been helpful to reach out a little harder to the community to see if there's anyone that could come help us. In any way, just another body out there is helpful. Some things we had troubles with were keeping the bikes the appropriate size for the students because of the varying heights and weights of kids coming throughout the day. If we had more people volunteering, we could have been able to be better prepared with adjusting seats and just keeping the bikes functioning and ready, keeping the tires full of air, for all the students, just so that the bikes are ready for the class. The equipment that I would wish that I had had for this program would be maybe more space. For the more flat concrete type space, we have a small basketball court where we were able to do like the beginners. The intermediate riders were able to go on the grass, which we had plenty of space for, but I think the main thing we could have used was a little bit more hard-packed space for those students just learning how to ride a bike. They need something that rolls a little easier and is a little more predictable. As far as parking lots go, that would be a great place to do it. Unfortunately, my school is located on 2 cross streets, and we don't really have a parking lot. We have one small one that is used for our health clinic that's part of our school, but people are in and out all the time, so I would not be able to block it off. If you could use a parking lot to block off the lines and stuff that are already painted there in the parking lot, are perfect for setting some of this up.
Things that I could improve on for next year, I'm actually in the middle of a fundraiser right now to purchase a wheelchair tricycle. So it's a wheelchair in the front and a tricycle in the back right behind it. I think that is something that's really going to help the program. We do have several students that are wheelchair bound and have little to no voluntary movement. So this would allow them the same access that all of their peers have.
in the classroom day, there's some behavior issues just because it's a little more quiet, a little slower. My suggestion would be break up the instruction with getting up and moving and doing games. That'll help your behavior issues a lot. But on the outside bicycle rodeo day, there were virtually no behavior issues. Kids were excited, volunteers were excited. It was just an awesome environment.
Some of the ways that you could obtain funding for your program to help get this started would be to seek out a couple different organizations in town that would have a vested interest in safe routes to school. So that might be your local Montrose, like for example, for us, it's the Montrose Area Bicycle Alliance. You might have a bicycle alliance in your town. Another organization to always seek out is your local Walmart, because they do have local grants available. There's other programs as well, such as Target. So any of those big name stores, they might have a program that's local to your town that would be able to assist in helping get funding for the bikes or for helmets for the program. So I definitely suggest seeking those out. There are a couple online things as well that you could check out, and I'll be sure to put those in the shared Google folder. So my equipment, my fleet, the way that it came about was I wrote several different grants to a number of organizations and reached out to several places, Walmart being one of those actually, and used all the grant money to purchase a very varying fleet of bicycles, from just your standard two-wheel bicycle to your very specialized bikes like a tandem and a couple of Riften bikes. And then over time I've also had bikes that have been donated to me from families that have outgrown their old bicycles. So I've received a couple of hand cycles like that as well. In terms of storage, I had to raise the funds to then build my own storage shed. And then I had to actually get the ground donated for the storage shed to sit on. So I had to have both the City of Montrose and the Parks Department of Montrose donate the land to me to put my shed up on. And then I actually had our local CASA help me design and build the storage facility that I store all of my equipment in.
Obviously, teaching virtually is a huge part of our lives these days. Some ways you could adapt this to be virtual would be starting a YouTube channel that brings in all sorts of different things. You could show videos of professionals showing what the elite level of riding a bike could be. Kids love to just see you being goofy and having fun, so you could have yourself on a bike going out there and giving it your all. Some other things you could do is potentially talk to local bike shops, see if they would be interested in doing like a bike share program where students could rent a bike, use it for a week, practice with it, and then return it, and then another student could come use the bike. There's a lot of ways to be creative with this and get students excited and on bicycles without being face-to-face.
So a couple ideas how you could take this virtually is a Bitmoji class, and we'll be sure to put that in the shared Google folder. So that way you can show little clips of videos and have interactive things and tests that your students can take. Some other ways that you could take it virtually is to use Flipgrid, and your students could film themselves riding a bike if they have access. Another excellent source would be to use Edpuzzle. You can find all kinds of videos about how to ride a bike, or create your own video and then input questions that you specifically want each class to answer.
I think that if I could talk Tammy into coming and doing this every year, I would definitely do it. It was just such an awesome time, a break from the norm. Most PE teachers don't just have a squadron of bikes hanging out. So this is a really great opportunity that kids don't get all the time.
There are so many positives that came out of this program on the community level. As instructors, we recognized that the needs of our community were greater than we anticipated, and we ended up reprioritizing a lot of our community programs to better meet these needs. Safe Routes to School taught us that not every child has access to a bicycle or adults that could properly teach them the rules of the road. Word started to spread about the impact of our program, and parents started calling us up and offering to donate bikes that their kids had outgrown. This poster was for a bike fiesta that unfortunately we had to cancel because of the pandemic, but it inspired the Montrose Area Bicycle Alliance, MABA, to develop a bike match program to get children and adults in need on a bike. To date, they have put over 20 community members on donated bicycles. We're also seeing the city really step up to improve infrastructure and awareness around schools and in neighborhoods. They're using our data from the parent surveys to decrease the barriers that are preventing kids from walking and biking to school. On the left, you'll see one of the signs that were installed near Cottonwood Elementary just months after we completed their program. MABA and the city installed these using donations from the community. On the right, you'll see a redesigned intersection in front of Columbine Middle School, and that was completed using a Safe Routes to School infrastructure grant. Part of the reason why we were able to pull off this program was because the community stepped up to support everything that we did, from fundraising to volunteering and helping us scrape together a bike fleet. And if you want to gain the community support, it's really important to identify some of these greater impacts in addition to sharing those great personal stories. You have to remember that not everyone has a child in school who is participating in these programs.
One success story I want to share with you guys is, and I touched about this a little earlier, was a 5th grade student I had. This student is probably one of the most athletic students in the school. One of the coolest dudes, super well behaved, everybody loves this guy. And when it came time for the bicycle rodeo, I was super pumped. I'm like, oh man, he's gonna just kill it. And when he got on the bike, he was kind of staying back, was super nervous, and just wasn't really like getting into it. And so I was a little, curious what was going on, and went over and talked to him, and he just never had the opportunity to ride a bike. He hadn't ever owned a bicycle, and he was a 10-year-old student, which was crazy to me. But after spending 30 minutes with the instructors and kind of feeling his way around, he was able to pick up his feet and pedal the bike for the first time. And you could tell that that was something that had bothered him up until this point, and now he was kind of free of that, and he was able to ride a bike, and the joy on his face was just something I wish I could share with all of you. It was very cool.
Thank you so much for attending our session. Please stick around for Q&As at the end of the session. We'll be on shortly. Use the QR code in the right-hand corner to access the Pedal Power Google Drive. There you'll find tons of resources that you could use to help start a Safe Routes to School program in your school.